This is my Kubota B1550. Had this for, well, 20 years or more. It's nearly not far short of 30 years old now. Still great. It's got about 1700 hours on the clock. As you can see, I fitted this one with a 4-in-1 bucket, which is one of the best things I've ever bought for it. It's actually off an ST30, which is a much bigger machine. And the bucket is quite a bit wider than the tractor, actually. It's about 4 or 5 inches wider than the tractor, than the widest part of the tractor, so not too bad, but it handles it perfectly fine. Been using it for years, no trouble at all. So I got it in here today. There's a few things I need to look at. It's in extremely good mechanical condition. Everything works as it should. All the lights and everything works. It's starting to show its age a little bit now, but it's good. The seat's a bit knackered. So yeah, it's all good. Fitted with a Lewis backhoe, which is an excellent piece of machinery. Made in the UK. Again, 30 years old. Never given me any trouble whatsoever. It's been on the machine the entire time I've owned it. Occasionally I used to take it off and do a bit of mowing, but I've got another tractor for that now, so I don't do that anymore. It's on there all the time. Good 12-foot reach, 180-degree swing. So I've got a few issues with this. I haven't had any issues with anything, but there's a few building up, so I thought I'd get them all done together. One thing I'm going to look at is this ram on here. It needs a reseal, starting to leak a bit. Not too serious, but it has been leaking a little bit for a while. You can see there's quite a bit of oil down there, and it just runs down the ram a little bit. Not too serious, but it probably needs addressing. The rest of it is pretty good. So the main issue I have, which just suddenly developed yesterday without any warning, is I've got a bit of an axle leak down under here, but you can't really get at it yet. I'm going to take the wheel off and have a proper look. So I'll get the wheel off. As you can see, I've already got the nut out and the wedges and the little pin. So now I just got to pull it off. So I will do that now. So we'll just pull the wheel off. Have a look at what's going on here. A bit jacked up on the legs. Although I think you've come down a little bit. I better jack it up a little bit more. Hang on a second. Always handy when a machine jacks itself up. Okay. There we go. Out of the way. Right, well, straight away I can see there's a bit of a mess in there. Let's have a closer look. Yeah, so straight away we can clearly see that we have a bit of a leak. Let's get some light on the situation. Oh yes, look at that. It's quite obvious really. The oil is running out from the axle seal. There's in fact dripping on the floor already. So yes. And there's a good few years of gunge got in there, so that all needs to be cleaned out. Yeah, so it's quite a mess in there. Also, you probably noticed got a bit of corrosion on this wing, and the main reason for that is the original, well, an earlier battery developed a leak, and it was unnoticed by me because the battery sits just there. And over the years, the battery acid has actually eaten away the wing. So that's probably another issue that needs addressing at some time. So I think what I'm going to do with this, since it's such a mess, I think I'm going to be tempted to put the wheel back on and take it somewhere a bit more suitable outside, and I think I might just pressure wash everything off with my hot washer, and then I can see what I'm doing then. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I've got my tractor outside now, ready to pressure wash. Got it out, got the wheels off again. I only pinned them briefly. So the other side looks as if it's going as well. Can I get my shadow out of the way? Yeah, it looks like the other axle is leaking as well. So I might have to do both at the same time. So I'm going to pressure wash it all off, and we'll go from there. This is a few days later. I'm still waiting for my seals to arrive. I've done a few odd jobs over the last few days. So I've taken this diagonal bar off the digger, which goes on that eyelet there, diagonally across to there. That's this bar on the floor, and I've just got a trolley jack under the back of there just to lift it up so I can get that bar off. I have got an axle stand under there to hold it up for safety, although these legs seem to be able to hold it up pretty well indefinitely, so that's not a problem. So the inner arch was quite rusty, as you know, so I stripped the rust off, rust treated it, and I've put some top coat black paint on there. I don't actually have any orange at the moment, but the wheel will hide that when it's back on, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. In the meantime, I've also I've drained the oil, by the way, and I've put in a new hydrostatic oil filter, which goes up there, just in front of the seat. And I've drained the oil from this drain plug underneath. So I'll put a bit of light on it, hopefully you can see it. So under there, you've got the rear PTO shaft, which is there. And there's that drain plug there in the middle. So undo that drain plug and drain most of the oil out from there, from the transmission. Now it's supposed to hold 13.5 litres according to the book, but with the leak I had already, the oil level was obviously quite low. Now, having drained it, I probably drained out about 8 litres maybe. There's a 5 litre drum filled there nearly, and there's some in that one as well. So I guess somewhere around about 8 litres. So there's obviously quite a lot missing, although some will still be held in the system because it's quite a big system. So the other side of the tractor, wheels off on this side as well, and this seal's also got to be replaced. Now on this side, hang on, need a light again. Better. I can see what I'm talking about now. So also on this side, underneath here, there's another plug there. As you can see, the tube comes off there, or the hydraulic pipe, which goes down towards the front of the tractor. Under that bolt there and behind there is a wire mesh screen. It's basically a small tube of fine mesh. So take that out, and that allows you, well, that is a service part which should be cleaned. Don't need to be replaced, just clean it. Now, interestingly enough, although this tractor is close to 30 years old now, I've owned it for 20 years, and we got what we got on there, 1,651 hours. Now, this tractor's never seen a service agent or any dealer stuff at all since I've owned it. But I must admit, I haven't changed the transmission oil very much. In fact, honestly, I've never changed it. And I drained the oil, and the mesh on the far side, which I just showed you, came out absolutely spotlessly clean. There was not a speck of dirt on it. It's immaculate. So people get a bit carried away with servicing, in my opinion, sometimes. When you read some of the forums, they seem to be quite obsessed with changing oil every 200 hours or whatever it is, which is a bit over the top quite often, especially for transmission oil, because there's no carbon interference from an engine, etc. So there shouldn't be any reason for it to be bad oil. The only reason would be as if it's got water in it, which, well, again, it shouldn't really get in, but you never know. If you've been wading in deep water or something, it's possible. Or if you've, I don't know, disconnected your hydraulics and got dirt in the system or something. But as I said, mine's been used for most work jobs in its time, mowing, rotavating, until I got a second tractor. And then it's been, since then, probably 95% of its entire life has been with a backhoe front loader, using the same oil. And the power steering is powered by the same oil. Transmission is done by the same oil because it's hydrostatic. Front loader has all been used, operated by the same oil. I've got a very large 4-in-1 bucket as well, which is off an ST30, in fact, which is, so it's quite a bit bigger than the standard bucket, and it's certainly a lot heavier. And it's handled that for at least 7 or 8 years, and I've never had any issues with the machine whatsoever in all those time. So anyway, hopefully my seals will arrive soon, and I'll be able to get on and change the seals. By the magic of YouTube, here we are a week later, and I now have my seals. These are genuine Kubota parts. There's the part number, as you can see on there. Yeah, it took a week to arrive from the dealer. That's what they look like out of the packet, just an ordinary type seal. Now you probably could get away with a standard oil seal of the right size from any seal or bearing dealer, and it would be a lot cheaper. But these come with a metal front plate, as you can see, and I think really the metal is quite important to have on these because of where they are on the axle there. Obviously that's going to help protect the seal from damage from anything else you might be running over, like sticks, wood, bricks or rocks or mud, water, whatever. It gives it a lot more protection. So I decided I'd go with the standard original ones, and these cost me about £28 each, or just under actually, but that included postage, so not outrageous. But you could probably get seals of the same size from a normal sealer dealer for probably, I don't know, somewhere between £5 and £8 I would have thought, maybe a tenner. But I think it's more important to have the correct ones on this particular case. So here we go, I'll fit them in. So because of the amount of corrosion on here, the seal has sort of pushed itself out from the casing, and I think that I can just chisel this one out. So let's have a go. I've got this to catch any loose oil, but I have drained the oil, so there shouldn't be too much more to come out. So let's see how this goes. Try not to bash your knuckles with the hammer. Yeah, it is coming out. Not too difficult. But I don't think it would come out quite as easy on the other side. So, you might be able to make out the bearings in there.
See if I can get you a bit nearer. Let's have a look. So you can now see the bearing race in there, held in with a circlip. But the bearings are still extremely good. There's no movement in the bearings at all, so they're fine. So all I need to do is clean up the surface and then hopefully just tap the new seal in. At least that's the plan.
Maybe I see, I don't know. But the oil coming out, it's very clean. As I said earlier, this hasn't been changed in the entire life it's been with me, which is over 20 years. I'm not saying you shouldn't change the oil, but I think the regular service interval says something like 400 hours, in which case it should have been changed at least 3 times since I've owned it. I've never changed it once. Maybe I'm just lazy, but in my normal life I don't have a lot of spare time to do these things. But as you can see, the oil is pretty clean and in good condition, so I don't think it's that essential. My own opinion. So I'm going to try and pop the new seal in. So penny board on the inner ring, and I put it on the outside as well. Help it in. Just to put penny board on there. And also, we'll put a little bit on here as well, so there's less chance of damage from these sort of corners on the hexagon bar. So get it nice and oily. The inner face is very good as well, with the wear face on there is still very good. So I think we're good to go. So let's just try this out. That should just easily slide over there without any damage. Like so. Give it a bit of a rotation. There we go. Right, now I'm going to try and tap it in, but we need to keep it as square as possible. Ideally, you'd have a big tube to slide over here and then tap, then it would be going in square, but I don't have one, so it's going to have to be a basic hammer, which actually is going in pretty easily. Very easily. So we'll get my chisel just to tap it in, but we want to spread the weight, or spread the impact point right across the seal face so we don't dent it too much. I think that's pretty well in. I would say that was in. I think that's it. I think we're in. So, we need to clear up the mess a bit. So the other side is going to be a little bit different. Moving around to the right hand side now. This seal, as you can see, is in actual fact outwardly in very good condition, but it still leaks. Nowhere near as bad as the other side, but it does leak. So obviously while we're at it, I'll do both sides together and get the worst of the dirt off the axle. there's no lumps of no dirt or gravel or anything stuck on there. We don't want to damage the seal. Now this side I'm going to have to pull out because it's flush fitting round here. So I can't get my chisel behind it like I could on the other one, because the other one had splayed out a bit. This one is still flush. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill in some of these self-tapping screws and try and pull it out. So I'll give that a go. Not quite sure how well this is going to go, but we'll try it and see what happens. A bit difficult to not. I suppose it's possible, if I drilled those all the way in, it may actually just screw the seal out. But I don't want to risk getting into the bearing race. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and just prise them out. Or prise the seal out. Okay. So I'm going to use this and a block of wood. So hopefully, if this is the right length, that will go in there. And I'm going to attempt to lever it out. Oops, let's see how this goes. Not well, because it's resting on the head of a bolt in there, so it makes it a bit unstable. Oh, it's coming out already. Not so bad. This side I can lever against the bracket, I think. Yes, look at that. So, which oil's going to come out of this one? There we go. That wasn't so difficult. And there it is. Let that drain. Again, you can see the oil is very clean. Considering that oil is done, well, I don't know, at least 12, where are we, 1600 hours, at least, I would say at least 1400 hours of work, and it still looks clean. So, that's quite good. More than happy with that. Clean the surfaces again. I'll just grab the other seal. There we are. So again, we'll oil the surfaces. very nice positive feeling when it goes in there. It feels right. It's not binding or sticking, just slides in nicely. I'd say that was in. I believe is it. Right, we'll put the wheel back on, which is a simple case of just lining up the holes. So there's 3 holes on the axle here and 1 this side. So I want it so the pin goes through the outside edge, the outside hole, which is this one here, or this one here, if you can't see, that one there. And my pin, which I've now lost, oh, here it is. So the pin goes in first, which should line up with the hole. This is somewhere near the outside of the axle, right there. Back out a little bit. Lost the hole somewhere. Let's come back out again. There we go. See what I do there. So that's the pin and the R-clip. And then, hang on, let me bring you in a bit nearer. Now for you that don't know, the hub, this hub can be reversed to give you more width on the tyres. As you can see, the hub of the wheel is on the inside of the wheel. If you put this wheel on the opposite side of the tractor, the same way round, the tread will be facing the right way, but the wheel will be a lot narrower into the axle. So this is reversed, so the wheel comes out on the centre of the wheel, because it's a dished wheel, and then the hub itself is bolted with 6 bolts to the wheel, and this one is pretty well near the outside edge. But if you wanted to bring the wheels out even further, what you can do is unbolt the hub, and then the hub is rotated and bolted on the other side of the wheel centre, so that'll bring the wheels out even further. And for rear digger work it's quite handy, but it does make it a bit wide to get through gateways. But that is an option which not everybody may realise. So now the wedges, which help tighten the wheel to the axle, go the right way up, so this tapered edge goes on top of the axle, so it'll be like that internally, which grips onto the hexagon. So push them in, so they should go most of the way in. If you wiggle the wheel a little bit, so they go in, and then we just bolt them together. Goes through, wash on there, and we just tighten up. need a 22mm spanner on the other side, wherever that is. Not sure I've got one here. And as you tighten up the nut, the wedges grip the axle. I have heard of people saying about worn out axles on these. That's mostly caused by this not being tight, because they do come loose, has been known. So once that's clamped up, the wheel is then rock solid on the axle, no play. That's how it should be, and that's the one side done. Side now. So the first thing to do is replace the bar, which we took off. Doesn't matter which end goes. So that end goes onto there first. Which is pinned like that. And then this end goes onto this clevis up here. Jack doesn't seem to have settled at all, so there we go, that's straight in. Okay. And it's just a question of putting the wheel back on. That, my friends, is job done. So all we need to do now is jack it up, put it back on the wheels and put it to work. Thank you.